this too is once let's see if yeah, once you get everything set up, if you know you're going that person's going to be in a number of shows again, and you're really happy with those settings, and you're like, man, never wish there was a way I could save those settings, hit the little function button, and it allows you to save it to a library, and you can just recall, and it doesn't matter which mic they're using. This week they're using mic 1, next week they're using mic 5. You hit select, go to mic 5, and recall the library for their settings, and it will just automatically configure it for them.
Wow,
That is fancy.
That's cool.
So,
I like that.
yeah. And in the library also, there are a number of things, starting places that you can use. So there's some female vocals, male vocals, and so you can just dial through those and recall those presets and hear what they're doing and see what the settings are. And they're just very generic, so they'll work with some people's voices, they won't work with others. But
In the
they
library, can we name them?
yeah, it'll give you a chance to. So you've got the factory library and then the user library,
Okay.
and so when you put it in the user library, let's see, store new. That's a channel library. So I do a channel library. It gives me
And
a
then it
little
brings it
keyboard.
up.
I can type in the person's name. I'll go ahead and it will store it in the channel library. And then there's the compressor library is just for the compressor. The channel library does the whole channel.
Okay.
So, but yeah, and that's just this little function button. You can see right here there's a little blue thing that opens and closes that. So, and once again, you got the on-off buttons here for the compressors and the gates too to see what, so you can hear and see what they're doing. So, that board probably had global phantom power on it, would be my guess. So phantom power, this is the one thing
yeah, it did have that.
yeah.
I don't know.
Was it global? You one switch and it turned it on for the whole board?
Well, it didn't. It had it. It's at the top. They had it for this section, and then this
Okay.
section, and then this.
So this is phantom power for every channel.
Okay.
So if you have a mic, your choir mics will be phantom powered. None of these will be, so you don't have to worry about that. Sometimes if a guitarist brings in what's called a direct box, it's a box they plug into and then plugs into the wall. That'll be phantom powered. Some microphones, handheld microphones, are phantom powered. So if you turn this up and you've got a bunch of gain here and you're not hearing it, it's not doing anything, more than likely it's a phantom powered mic. So what you want to do is turn everything down, and then you press and hold this right here, and that'll turn phantom power on for that channel.
And then you can work with it.
And then you can work with it, and then you can start turning your gain back up and see if you got sound at that point.
Okay, that makes way
But-
more sense than the way it was done on the other board. 'Cause
Yeah.
I never quite understood why it wasn't done like that. But
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
understand.
well, the reason they do it on a lot of the old boards was global or by section is because people phantom power 90%, well, probably 98% of the mics out there cannot be heard by phantom power. So I could turn phantom power on for every channel. It wouldn't hurt these mics. Wouldn't hurt 98% of the mics you plug into the board. The problem is there's a set of high-end mics out there called ribbon mics, and if you plug a ribbon mic into a phantom powered channel, it'll rip that mic apart. And the problem with that is ribbon mics are not cheap. It's not like, oh, I just destroyed a $100 mic, I can reimburse you for that. No, it's I just destroyed a $3,000 mic. Yeah, so that's why now there are and they're not very common. They're mostly in studios, but you always get some weirdo who just is like, hey, I just spent $3,000 on a mic and I'm going to use it and take it wherever I go.
Hey, I just
And-
had $3,000 to drop
But
on a mic.
yeah, but they should be able to tell you. I mean, if they walk in, and you can always go, is that a phantom powered mic? And if it's a ribbon mic, if they don't, they should be able to say, hey, it's a ribbon mic. Make sure there's no phantom power on. Yeah, most people will know if they bring in their own mics or whatever if they're phantom powered or not, and should be able to tell you that. But yeah, it's just you go to the channel and you press and hold that for a couple of seconds. It'll turn red, and that means it's on. So you also have on here what's called a pad, and that is if you have the gain turned all the way down and this whatever you plugged in is still just peaking and blaring and ripping the board apart, you hit this pad button, it'll reduce the volume. I think it's 15 dB or something like that, or I'm not sure what it is. But it reduces it somewhere between 15 and 20 dB, and usually that's enough to allow you to have some adjustment and not have it blaring. But if you, once again, if you plug something into the board and you're not getting any sound, you tried phantom power, that's not working, make sure your pad's not on, because or if you're having to crank the gain all the way up to get any sound, a lot of times it's because the pad's on. Somebody turned it on and it just needs to be turned off. So
That happened a lot on that board right there.
yeah, that's got pads on it.
You remember that?
So, so that covers pretty much that section. And the touch, this is a touch screen, so you can move it around it. Anything that's highlighted you can turn with this encoder, but most of the things have their own encoder over in this section. There are a few things that do not, like the pad button and the phantom power don't have any encoders over here, but most everything else does. So you can also, if you want to, do channel linking, and that's where you link two or three channels together. If I do that, let's see, channel 1 and 2 not linked. Let's go ahead and link them. I'll link them, apply. Now they track together. So if I have two signals plugged in and I want the channels linked, I can link them, and they always link they link in groups of two. You can tell if two channels are linked by the green highlight here on the touch screen, and that's where you have to link it anyway.
Gotcha.
So you go in there, we'll unlink it, hit apply, and now they're separate again. So, but I plugged this into a different place, but if you were to plug this like this, you had plugged into two channels before. If you were to do that on this board, you would want to go ahead and link the channels, and then any change you made to the one channel and make it to the other channel too. So it's kind of cool. I think that pretty much covers that section, and like I said, I mean, you just need to make sure you're on the right, with the select button, you're on the right place. So then we're going to go, the way digital boards work is they work what's called in layers. So this is your primary layer with your channels 1 through 24. This is your secondary layer, and it gives you access to stereo channel 1, 2, and 3. This is plugged into stereo channel 1 right now, and it's on the second layer. Effects returns, which I'll get into in a minute, and all these over here in the blue, these are masters, which you'll probably never need to touch. You just can leave those up where they're at. But as before, I have this playing, so this is on stereo 1. I can get that going there, and then if I go back, I can do stuff here. The thing you just have to be aware of is, if I'm down here if I'm on this layer and I want to do something to that music, I've got to remember to switch back up to here, make my change, and then switch back. And of course, it's nice because it highlights where you're at. You can see very clearly which layer you're on. But there is another layer, a hidden layer called a custom layer, and you hit those two buttons, and it's custom, and it gives you a place to write in stuff. And what you can actually do is assign things from wherever in any order you want to this layer. So if you're, what we would do is we go over to here to setup, we go to control, custom layer, and I want channel 16, say somebody picked up channel 16, I want them on channel 1, and I want my music, which is in stereo 1, on channel 2, and I want, I don't know, let's put the main for the fun of it on channel 3. So I can do that. I go back to my processing screen here. I hit that. That's my master. You can see it's tracking there with that.
Mm-hmm.
I now have control over my music from here. And I've got mic 16 right here. So you can set that up if you're just doing something small. You can literally just grab a mic and give it to them. Say, what channel is that? Put it into your custom layer. And none of the rest of these faders are assigned, so they don't do anything. I just have my 3 faders that I need. My
So
master.
somebody can't reach over here and push this.
Yeah, they
out.
could do that, and I don't care. And I can play with
Oh.
my master. I've got my music here, and I've got channel 16 here.
So would you
So-
suggest doing that for probably every show that you do?
It just really depends. It depends on what you're doing. I did a show for on this. It was on this board actually, not this exact board, but a board similar to this, where it was a 32 channel version, and I had 16 microphones, and I had playback music, and I had reverbs and stuff, and it was on, and I was having to switch between the 2 layers constantly to do anything. So I went ahead and I set up my custom layer, and I put my 16 microphones, I put my music, and then I put my effects all on that one layer, and then I mixed everything from there. It just gave me one place to do it all from. So it just really depends on whether if you're using all 24 channels, but say maybe you're only 1 through 16 are the channels you're constantly mixing on, but 20 through 24 you're only doing things every once in a great while, but you're also having to play with the music a lot, then maybe I'd put on my custom layer, I'd put 1 through 16, and then I put the music there, and then that way when I do need to make a change, I can just run back here, make my minor change, and then go back and do my main mixing on my custom layer. So it just really depends on what you're doing, and how much you want to. It's personal preference. The custom layer is just purely, it's a personal preference thing as to how much you want to use it and whether you want to use it. But it is handy in certain circumstances. In some certain circumstances, it's just a waste of time, and it might be fun to set up, but it's kind of a waste of time.
It
So
would be handy during Revelation when we're only running like his audio, his mics, and then whatever sound.
yeah, if you're doing smaller things and you just don't want to have to worry about this, and you found that, I don't know, I pulled mic 16. You found that mic 16 just really worked well with that person, and then somebody you gave the next person 17, but then it broke or something, so now you gave them 18, or you gave them 20.